So specifically talking about dry sand versus wet sand. Now, if you ever watch the professional athletes or even NCAAs, you typically see them jumping on this darker looking sand. Is it a different type of sand than this white sand? Well, no, typically they're, for the most part, the same kind of sand. They're a quartz-based, well-sorted, fine-grained sand. Just one of them has a little bit more water in it. So what's the difference between jumping on a dry sand versus a wet sand? So the first thing you might think of is, well, hey, look, that sand moves around a lot more. When I see these long jumpers, triple jumpers go in the sand, you see them do the sand fling. So it must be the dry sand that's better, right? Well, not exactly, because if you think about it, when you land on a dry sand, there's nothing in between the individual grains. So you're basically getting rock on rock impact, which is hard. So dry sands equal hard impacts, which one, it can severely increase the risk of injury. It's almost like every time you're landing, boom, it's like you're getting in a car wreck, right? Because there's not a lot of deformation. A little bit of sand moves apart, but most of the impact is just kind of button up against each other. So then we talk about wet sand. Well, there's twofold with the wet sand. If it's too wet, then it's almost like jumping on concrete or a flurry, because the sand has water in between it, but that water is actually keeping the sand from moving out of the way. So it's not a deformation. And especially if it's well compacted. What you want is something like this. So I dug this up and then flattened it out. So this is wet sand that is pretty much dug up, and so it's really loose. So when I make impact now, see how it just moves out of the way, and also see how deep in my fist got? So that's what you want. You want wet sand that is loose, not super compact, because that is not going to be fun. You want it dug up and then just sitting on top of each other. That way when you land, it moves out of the way. So one, you can get a nice mark, but two, it really does affect your performance, both from a risk of injury, but also from a psychological impact. Because if you know every time you land on dry sand, you're basically going to hurt your back or kind of get that whiplash when you land and you slide in, well then you're kind of going to adjust how you land every time. You're not going to get full extension. Versus if you know every time you're landing, it's just going to nice smooth and slide out the way, then you're going to hold it to the last second, get a good heel hook, and slide yourself in. So every time you go out there for meets or even in practice, you can get some kind of water and just water hose it or get it wet and then turn it over and then get that wet. Because if you just put a little bit of water on the top, then that top layer will have water, but everything beneath it will still be dry and hard. So you want to mix it up as much as you can to get the whole surface from top to bottom just a little bit damp. And that's going to make a huge impact. Hope that helps.